John Cowan, a regular contributor to the show, is not on the phone. He's not on Zoom. He's in the studio. I can see him.
You could even reach across and touch me to make sure that I'm real.
Let's do that. There we
you
go.
go.
Just a weird high five.
Okay.
There we go. John, so nice to have you in the Rhema studio.
It's wonderful to be in your beautifully appointed studio.
Yeah.
It's very classy.
I know. I kind of bring the classiness down a little bit, but the classiness level is gone up. And nice to have you in this part of town.
Yeah.
Today, talking about that good old conversation starter, or in some ways a conversation ender. How are you?
Yeah, how are you? Yes.
The answer's always, I'm fine. How are you?
It doesn't have to be that.
Yeah.
And a couple of years ago, I was over in Aussie, and I was helping to clean up after a flood.
Okay.
The flood had gone through in northern New South Wales, and my family's stuff was pretty messed up. But driving around the town of Murwillumbah, there were just piles of whiteware, carpet, and furniture and everything just on the sides of the road. You could see the floodwaters had gone halfway up the power poles. It had been a huge flood. And I stopped to talk to a young guy that was working on his car on the side of the road. It had been totaled pretty much, but he was working away on there. And excuse my stereotypes of an Australian, but he was, your archetypal young Australian country guy with ripped off sleeves and burnt brown, and the first impressions were he had pretty rough manners and things. But I was asking him how, things had gone down for him, and he was telling me about the damage to his home and town. And then I asked him, and how's it impacting you? And the thing that surprised me was he opened up almost immediately. He didn't know me from Adam.
Yeah.
But because I was listening and interested, he told me about how he was sleeping badly and stressed and worried and seemed glad to be able to unburden to someone.
Wow.
And I thought, this is very unusual. And a bit later on, in some warehouse place that I was at that was messed up, another guy unburdened to me after just the similar types of questions. Now, there had been a campaign done by the government or some local authority with posters around about talk about your feelings. Maybe that had made a difference.
Yeah.
Maybe Australian men are just better at this.
I don't think no, get those words out of your mouth.
You can concede that sometimes someone else may be better at us at some
exactly.
things.
No, and hey, they're better at us at many things. Although I want to suggest another theory on this one.
Yeah.
I wonder whether the floods in itself had risen their feelings to the surface on this, because I remember this after the Christchurch earthquake.
Yeah.
That it was part of the therapy, part of the processing for people to be able to tell their stories about where they were when the earthquake struck and how it had affected them. And the challenge, I suppose, for people in Christchurch is everybody they knew in their neighbourhoods had a very similar story to them.
I'll see your story and raise you one.
Exactly,
Yes.
exactly. But I know for some people, many years on, being able to tell that story, being able to express their feelings was very therapeutic when they'd been through something traumatic. Was that a part of it, or is it just that Aussies are better than us?
I'll take that theory on board. Hey, I'm going to concede my ignorance here. I don't know why it helps to be able to talk about a problem. Maybe it just nails down those thoughts that are swirling around in your head and puts those thoughts in a line so they have to come out through your mouth, one idea after another, and you can handle things one after another. But anyway, I've found over the years that just getting people to talk about things helps immensely. And so on the basis that, well, I heard an estimate that given at any moment, 1 out of every 3 people is going through something serious in their life, something heavy duty.
Wow.
Okay, fortunately there's only 2 of us in the studio, so we're okay.
We're both doing absolutely fine, of course. The other thing that I thought is are we asking the right questions?
Yeah.
Are you okay? How are you doing? I mean, that invites a sort of a closed, I'm fine, thanks, let's move on.
Yeah.
Could we ask perhaps more probing, sort of none of our business type questions to get to the heart of the matter?
How are you is fine. And they'll usually just get the fine, how are you response. But if you put it in a bit of context, like, because I was just thinking it's about a month since your dad died, or, hey, the last time we were talking, you're talking about that awful stuff that had happened at work, or haven't seen you down at the club lately or something. You add a little bit of context, meaning, hey, this is more than just a greeting.
Or even...
I'm actually wanting to know.
Or even push back with when they go, oh, yeah, I'm fine, thanks. Oh, yeah. But how are you really? Because last time...
I don't know if I'd deflect it like that. I'd just come straight in with that because they may want to deflect.
Yes.
Yeah. And so they can go, yeah, no, I'm fine. And if people don't want to talk, don't push. There's no point in prying.
Yeah.
You've already signaled that you're available and and interested, and if they're wanting to take that up,
I'm keeping it together and actually airing my dirty laundry to you on the side of the road. Actually, that's not going to help my processing.
Yeah, because there is a fair degree of shyness and sometimes pride, which block people from wanting to share. Those are two terrible things that rob people of getting a lot of help in their life, shyness and pride. So
I think I'm more guilty of one than the other. You see if you can guess which one.
Well, considering you're hiding under the desk at the moment, I imagine it's going to be shyness. Are you sleeping okay? Or just talking about sleep, because sleep is such a barometer of stress.
Yeah.
It's one of the first things that gets tipped over when you're under stress. And so just asking about sleep, that can open up the conversation. Same with appetite. I don't know how you raise that topic politely. It means like if you said something like, doesn't look like appetite's much of a problem for you, that's probably not going to go down well. But appetite, but sleep is probably a safe one to talk about.
Yeah.
And you can talk about, I imagine stress.
Yeah. Talking
about stress is easier than talking about emotions sometimes, because stressors come from outside. So you can say like, hey, you've had a lot of stress lately, or something like that, where because you may be aware of things that are going down.
This is another deflection in some ways, and I think it's Western culture in particular. If you say, how are you? If it's not fine, it's busy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, flat out busy at the moment.
But then you could rock into and you're handling that okay? It's not getting you down.
Sounds stressful
like
or something.
Yeah. Sounds stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can talk about that. You don't go straight for I sometimes think on my interview programs it would be fun to open up with questions like, what are you most bitterly ashamed of? What's your worst failure in life? I think that would be a great starter for a conversation. But no. You do indicate, hey, I'm concerned, I'm interested, and so asking, saying things like, hey, that sounds pretty stressful. Are you handling it okay?
Yeah.
That's at a level above that. You're not going for the intimate personal details. And you could say something like, I'm no expert, but I can listen if you're wanting someone to to talk to. Yep. And then show your sincerity by following it up with the offer of a cuppa or going out for a cup of coffee or something. And so, as I said, 1 in 3 people possibly going through something terrible at this moment.
Yeah.
Or not necessarily terrible, at least heavy duty. And they would possibly really relish the opportunity to be able to talk it through with someone else who cares.
Yeah.
And so if you can indicate yourself compassionate and willing to listen, man, what a service you're doing to your friends.
Yeah, totally. So, and perhaps we can learn a lesson from your bogan mate from Australia that told you his life story when you said, oh, how's it going, mate? That actually the way in which we respond when somebody says to us, so how are you going? Maybe not close down that conversational opportunity.
Hey, no, it was just a greeting. I don't really care how you're doing. No, you don't want to do that. But, especially if you turn around and just stand a little bit in an angle to them, because straight on is a bit confrontational, but perhaps just, I remember being told that someone say, take your jacket off and throw it over your shoulder and lean on something, which really gives people the message that, hey, I am listening.
Yeah.
You might have to go and get a jacket.
I might.
If you haven't got one.
John, wonderful wisdom and advice as always. So nice to have you in the studio, and thank you so much for what you bring to the program.
My pleasure.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.